Okay, let's call the meeting, Delaware County Regional Regional Wastewater Meeting, May 1st, 2024. Will you call the roll, Penny?
Yes.
Ray.
Present.
Joe. Here. Bill.
Here.
Brenda. Present, I think.
All right, first order up is minutes, previous meeting, April 2, have been passed out.
I move to approve. Second.
I have a first and a second. Any changes or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Approved? Pete?
Claims for March 29th through April 25th, 2024, total $173,828.38. Account balances as of April 25th. I know this is going to shock all of you. We have $420,000 in the cash operating balance. Improvement fund balance of $1,589,596.57. Daleville TIF transfer has occurred, so there's a $9,411, and we have an Indiana Bond Bank transfer of $18,554.34. And there are 5 CDs with one coming due in the next few days. That's, I'm sure Jason's going to update us about, that you can see there on the agenda. So I would move to approve the claims in the amount of $173,828.38.
Second. I have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Motion approved. All right, new business. SLB Overlook Drive, pay app.
You guys, in the packet that originally went out with Penny's packet on Thursday, there was a pay app request for $65,175. Part of that was retainage. We then got an updated pay app request for pay app number 1 for SLB from Commonwealth. After Rob went through it, it was that amount is going to be $64,225. Out of that, $3,211.25 is going to be held back as retainage. So we need an approval to pay $61,013.75 for SLB pay app number 1.
So moved.
A second.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion?
Is 5% typical? Is it not 10? And
Either 10% or 50%.
so why are we only holding 5 back?
Ends up being the same amount.
Or 5 for the whole? I'm sorry, Rob, I did not listen to the second half of your comment there. That's my fault. Gotcha.
We're gonna hold 5% of the total back to drive.
The whole way. Gotcha. Okay.
Good?
Yes.
This payout should have been presented last month.
Is there any other discussion on the payout? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Next, it didn't make the agenda, what Rob was just mentioning. We have since got a pay app number 2, and if you guys feel more comfortable holding off until next month to get it presented, Rob had a changing of on-site engineers, and the guy that was supposed to be reviewing the first pay app, I think, has since left Commonwealth, and since then we've got a second pay app. So we can get this sent out to you guys. Me and Rob's both reviewed it, and
Are you comfortable?
I'm comfortable. Rob signed off on it. We've
Probably, we're still paying for less.
Yeah, so how much
And-
is it?
we're expecting to be at completion at the middle of this month, so Rob will have to shed some light on that too. So pay app number 2 is for $116,499.45. Retainage amount on that is $6,131.55. So the approval date today would be 1/22/6/31.
So moved.
I have a first.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion approved. What
Uh,
was that again, 122?
122, 631, and 64, 225 was number one.
Thank you.
Then on the grinder pump quotes, me and Bill was out on site at 350. 350 is the road that's leading into DeSoto. We have, and that's relevant because our main lift station from Roriton and all the flow coming from DeSoto meet there and tap into Muncie's interceptor at that point. Muncie's having some, problems with, I on that interceptor is seriously the exact same, in my opinion, the exact same story that we dealt with over at 600. Concrete interceptor, been there for years. Me and Bill went out there, got the ball rolling with them. They've been in contact with IDEM, properly reporting and everything during the high rain events. And they're looking towards a long-term solution to get this figured out. There are a couple customers, mainly one that sits right at the corner of that interceptor. Well, sits right on the corner of our mains, which tie into that interceptor. That during these high flow events, we're having issues getting their flow out. It's like a backup situation. Pumps only taking so much. One of the ways to alleviate that, and we did this over at the Glen in the past, is we had a lift station. We had a residential home that was actually tied in and connected to the lift station that actually discharged into the wet well. And during high rain events, comes up so high they couldn't get their sewage away. So this is kind of doing the same thing. And what we did with that home was take it off a gravity line, put in a pressurized system like we've done in Tanglewood and DeSoto and Kamak, and it forces the flow to go out into the main line and stops them from backing up. So there's one house that's closest to the main and the interceptor that's continuously having these backup issues and can't get away, and they can't use their facilities. And there's one that sits further to the east that we've had maybe 2 or 3 calls in 9 years. That if we do have a rain event, that first house is always calling. And so we're looking at what it would take to get that. My opinion is that we need to get another pressurized system connected to this house. So to get that taken care of, I don't think it's necessarily a cost that the homeowner should incur, nor we didn't do that at the Glen. We covered that cost, get them off the gravity line, hook them up to a grinder pit. So when Penny sent out their board packet, at that point, all I had was quotes for the grinder pit and curb stops and everything like that. On Friday, I ended up sending out the quotes for the work that was to actually get them installed. And my recommendation is that we would move forward, starting out at least one of the houses, see what it would take to get them off the gravity, and if moving further, we have continued phone calls with the second house. I think they're just getting gurgling and never actually a backup where they can't use the facilities. So my recommendation is that we at least do the first house closest to the main line. And so when we got those quotes to get a high head pump, which it's going to take to pump that flow out to that full line, it's going to be $709.40 a house just for the pump alone. Install, because of the amount of footage it takes to get to our main line for that first house, is going to be $7,320. I'm still looking to get a second quote for that. I felt like that was a little high, and we're actually going to have another contractor on site today to see if we can get that down. But to get the first house installed, new pump, and to get everything dug in and tap the main, it was going to be $16,029.40.
Will the grinder pump become their responsibility once it is
Out of the original warranty.
out of
yes.
original warranty?
But, and just for, because I was there with Jason, the first one is, to me is a definite. I mean, it's a health issue. The CS, that comes up, I mean, that front yard, I would have been irate. I'd have been screaming from the top of the hills. The problem that I see is, and why I think the second one is important, is if you're there, I was on site at the creek, those houses go slightly uphill from there. That second one is still down just at the same level as that first one is. It's just that it's another 30 or 40 feet. Would you say?
Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't.
I said, the slope, I said the first house is a definite.
Oh,
The
yeah.
second one, I'm still interested in because of the slope that's there. It's pretty much on the same level as that one, knowing that we have a concrete interceptor, the problem that we have, the time it's gonna take, and we've gotta wait for the lane
Yeah.
and their complaints. You do one, I mean, I would be upset if I was the neighbor next door and we didn't do both of them because they've had issues with it as well.
Well, and instead of,
And still within the line, if we block that up and that force main, now are we gonna shove back up? Now she has they have the gurgling problem because we stopped it at the first one and forced it into the main at that lift station.
So kind of the saving, I mean, it's, the second house is gonna be cheaper to do. I got less of a run to hit the main. So that one's actually just a hair short of $2,000 cheaper. To get the second one, it'd be $14,249.40.
I was gonna say, do they give us a break if we do two versus one?
Well, that's what mobilizing.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
if
what
they're,
I'm
if they're
saying.
there,
Yeah,
if we do one and then we turn around and pay to mobilize on the
And-
second one, if we're gonna do it. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because I think that once we stop the one, the second one is gonna have the same problem as the first one. Now, the ground gets really higher going up from there, and there's some space in between those houses going down towards, going out east. Tell me if I'm wrong.
We'd only be losing, if you wanna look at it like this, we're only losing capacity of 200 foot of 4-inch residential sewer main that's holding water. I don't think that we're necessarily gonna have an issue with both houses. I mean, in both, quotes, I've had them quoted out separately, knowing that it might be done separately. I can go back to them and see if we can be done any cheaper if I get them both there the same day for the install. The pumps are what they are because we're gonna buy them.
Right.
So that's coming out from us. Other than that, the 1.25 inch discharge and the installing of the actual pits and pumps and electrical was done separately, quoted out separately. So
Jason, are we talking about two pumps if we do both houses?
2 pumps, yeah, so it would be a
Doing so.
total of 278.80 if that's both houses. And hopefully I can get that, I'm trying to get that install number down a little bit.
where does it come from? Operating?
It comes from the, collection system and, lift station maintenance. Currently, that's where I was gonna pull it from. We currently have 225,000. That was a account that we set up this year to do rehab work, any, infrastructure work, and one of the line items that we had budgeted to, that we were gonna kind of address some of these issues on our side with some of the savings that we saw from the contract, so.
How long's this been going on, this problem?
This problem, as long as I've been here, I mean,
But it's just,
This,
it's just started to be a real problem that
now-
you need to address.
so, on Muncie's side, it definitely is becoming so what's
Go
been
back to
worrisome to me is
2017.
like the last 2 or 3 rains that we had, granted, they were 15-year rains.
Right.
And we've had me and Bill's been out there, Conrad, Jason Ingram, their maintenance supervisor, Tom now, and, the part that's never, like, it's got really bad is this, like, the example is this last rain, we would have high water in some of our lift stations for maybe 36 hours. And, where we'd have to turn off an alarm and not necessarily have an overflow, but it would go higher than 2/3 of the lift station height. And we would catch back up. And, in our main lift station, we have never had to pump as long as we had because I'm pumping it so much head pressure. I'm not pumping at full capacity. But the worrisome part to me, where I know it's getting worse on that interceptor side of it is The last rain, I think it started on like a Wednesday. I was caught back up, all my lift stations turned back on, normal operating, sequence, pumps kicking on and off, no high water, no alarms turned on Friday morning. And I'm still getting phone calls from them Saturday night and Sunday that they're still blowing over. So they're not getting any relief on that interceptor. And to me, it's the same exact thing we ran into over at 600. It's just leaking like a sieve.
There was conversation there that in 2017, that
Yeah.
that was looked at, the gaskets were hanging at that time, so this issue is, it's got to be addressed. And if that front yard, if this desk end to end, I mean, it was an area as big, if not bigger than this, was it not?
Yeah,
raw
IDM
sewage.
has got involved now, and I got a feeling they're gonna
Right
be
there,
under an agreed order, just like we were with 600.
So how soon can we get this done?
The part that naturally that we're, for our homeowners to get this fixed, I could get this done in 30 days.
That's on
Bid-
your one bid that you have so far?
Yeah, but
Who is the contractor too?
Our BBC, I'm sorry, it's actually not BBC.
Thanks, guy.
It's Liberty Pumps.
This was an issue too,
Indiana Pump Works is who we buy our Liberty lift station, pumps from.
when we talked about building a new plant out there. This came up at that time too, and MSD kept telling us that it was not their problem, they were not going to do anything to fix it, it must be our problem. And when we tried to talk to them about it,
So it really was our problem when they were saying it,
No.
but we're paying for it now?
No, it's MS,
No, so
that's
this
MSD's
is,
intercept.
these pumps is only gonna, would only fix the problem that's hurting our homeowners, our ratepayers.
You need to get it fixed.
So
the underlying.
the underlying
issue-
issue, it's gonna be a long
That
term.
interceptor real
You
long.
got,
Along that creek in that field, I mean, the INI is just running in
That's
there.
what I
It's
did,
just,
or
it's flat, and then there's
MSD's gonna
nowhere
be
for
on
the
an
push to
agreed
go.
order for it
On the
probably.
other side, it is worse to bank out. I mean, totally worse. It's gonna have to be filled in. It's overflowed so much, even
Yeah.
on the other side.
And if they would have done something all those years ago, it probably wouldn't be this
Yes.
bad, but
Yes.
they shut the door in our face and said, "Move on," because we were gonna build our own plant.
I just, again, going back, pointing the finger, I'm not. We got two homeowners that have a serious issue that I hope that if I was in the shoes, that we would address in a proper way. And that one, I was flabbergasted when I got on site with MSD and Jason. I mean,
So is MSD also going to fix
They've already,
they are,
problem
They're already
so,
working.
to their side of the problem?
yeah,
And-
we're definitely moving in that direction. It's,
Okay.
the part of it is they gotta cross, to actually get in there and TV, to get a good camera in there, you gotta clean. To go down there and clean, you gotta go through 2 farm fields with back trucks so it's gonna be a long process. It's gonna take a lot of dry weather, and they're aware of that. They have got an agreement right now with IDEM to remedy the situation on 350. It doesn't fix it, it puts a Band-Aid on a bleeder.
Mhm.
But they've been out there with Rick, like Bill said, we've been out there with the wastewater, plant operator, Jason, and their maintenance director. And they know it's a priority, and they all feel like it's a priority. But it has to be the right circumstances to get a game plan together.
we get these installed. They've already installed the riffraff or a deal around the CSO, around the
They end up
manhole
doing a
to
different-
direct it back into the creek if there isn't, and not into the front yard and across the driveway as it did.
Make a motion.
And also, I wanted to answer your question.
Home it fixed.
Yeah,
For them.
The contractor, the only, bid I got right now to actually do the install is Delaware Construction and Landscape. And bid, I got, another one coming in too, so hopefully I can get that done cheaper too.
And when we make this motion, can we
Go with the
do it
cheapest
with that
bid.
Jason has the
Yeah.
flexibility to choose the
Exactly.
best bid for the job?
I was gonna say, I would make the motion to install 2 grinder pumps for one for each of those houses. Give Jason the flexibility to work with the lowest bid, for the installation price.
I'll second that.
Do we need a number on that, or is that good?
Right,
Go with the best saying that he
Yes.
has the authority to go with the best quote, I
Okay.
think that's fine.
I have a first and a second. Do I hear, is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Additionally, this month, we just spoke about, we had a lot of rain. We did make a report at 600, first time in, I think it was 18 to 20 months, which is tremendous. When we used to have a half inch to 3/4 of an inch of rain and it would blow. We had one over at, the school again, but that was reported and, as well, like I said earlier, me and Bill met out with, MSD on 350. Overlook Drive's moving good. I think Rob, he spoke to his guy this morning before I spoke to Scott. We got 2 more pumps that have to be installed, pits that have to be installed before we can, start taking the septics offline. The health department made it clear they wanna come out, and I don't think that they don't want any part of it. They've just never seen it done. They wanna come out and watch us as we dispose of the septics, pump them out and everything. I think that's all I got. Is there anything else?
The overflow at 600, I talked to Scott, well, I basically yelled at him because he was blocking my driveway. But that's it. He mentioned he felt like the collections on the south side were good, but where we didn't line on the north of the creek in Westbrook, he
Yeah.
felt like he was getting a good steady stream basically coming from Kamak down into there.
Yeah, and that's one, so the south part of Kamak, one of the older parts, them guys are really diligent about going through and popping manholes and trying to chase down. You can tell where the flow picks up. South part of Kamak is one of our, you get a lot more clay tile in there. And we spoke to Rob already about this. What he suggested is like get some mapping together, and I kind of already gave him a heads up on see what he was looking at on his last project he did and what they were paying per foot. But moving forward, if they can bring us back something that at least gives us an idea what we'd be looking back.
Are we clean video in line? Is that the thought process?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you, clean it, line it.
Okay,
Yeah.
of what we do with the, right, okay.
Luckily enough, the south side of Kamac's smaller, and depending what that price looks like, I think that we could probably get it done without borrowing any money or anything like that. But once I get with Rob and we get him a map and get him some prices on, per foot and everything, we'd have a better idea there. Collections last month. This month, we're setting at $4,334.88 of the entire collection area. We had 7 properties disconnected. I think out of that, 5 of them were abandoned houses that I think 3 of them were houses that we got back on the roll because we got payments on taxes that they still abandoned up the entire time. So went 2 months, no payments, went back and plugged them off. That number's probably a little bit better. I know I gave the guys an updated list today, and but that was as of the 29th. We'll do the same thing with, Pete mentioned it earlier with the CD. We have, $600,000, 500 of it falling off on the 13th, and, $100,000 falling off on the 10th of this coming month. And we'll go ahead and do, like we've been doing, the $300,000. What was the, last rate, you remember? It was
5.2.
5.2 is what we ended up getting, when we, ran that, $300,000 for the 8/12/24, which you see down there on the CD investments. So,
We're gonna split these into 2 300s.
yes, correct. So we'll go out to 9 and 10. I think that's all I got.
I have one thing, Jason. It's more a request.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it'd be you or Penny or Bill. I don't know which one, but there's been some stuff that has gone out on our social media page. And I just appreciate before something goes out, like the office closing, I think there was a delay on Deerbrook or whatever, one of the locations we're doing. And if some little blurb could go in the form of an email to board members and saying, this is what's going out there, because I prefer it, since I'm on social media, I'd just like to know about it before I get asked by somebody else.
Okay.
So it's not that I'm gonna make an opinion or call you and say why, it's just, hey, by the way, we're making this little, you know,
Excuse me.
and it's only when something would affect the customers, not payments or anything like that, or bill changings or holidays, but like the two most recent ones that came out, just a heads up for us.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, cause I didn't hit on that, and maybe Rob was going to as well. So, Brackney, we've been trying to lock down a start date for the Rorton project. It's kinda got pushed back because, they're worried about getting, was the panels, transfer switch, electrical panels, so, we did throw that out. I think probably what you saw for the Rorton, our anticipated start date, we would update them when we have a better idea. It was supposed to be at the middle of this month, but we've been told that due to electrical components, it's gonna be a little bit longer, and they're not ready to mobilize with all their equipment until they know they can get the electrical stuff, so. Yeah, it definitely, yeah,
Just a heads up, just,
Yeah.
we
You
don't
can
need
answer
a
the
bunch of
question.
detail, even, I don't think for even the board members, just, hey, this is gonna go out there and
mhm,
that's what it's about.
okay.
Thank you.
Anybody got anything else for Jason? Okay, Danielle?
Um,
Thank you.
For Chesterfield, we did finally get contact from Chesterfield regarding the overpayment issue. Their person in the office sent a bunch of spreadsheets back to us. Jason and I turned those right around and sent them to Jennifer. And my understanding is she was out for a medical issue, and so she has not had a chance to look at those yet. So I don't have an update on her evaluation of Chesterfield's numbers or anything yet, but we will hopefully be able to get you that update by next month. Since she was out, I think probably for a little bit of an extended time for her medical issue. So at least we heard from them, because that's the first time in I think almost a year that we have, so making way. Then the other thing I am in the middle of working on, Rob and I are gonna talk a little bit more after this meeting. It appears that for the lift station and the manhole just north of the Dollar General and the storage units in Royerton, so just right on both sides of that creek on 3. I'm not sure if Mark April drafted the easements or just did not draft the easements. I have went in and searched Laredo, which is the system we pay for at our office, to look for deeds and easements and, you know, any kind of a recorded document. I find no history of an easement that actually covers our ability to use, access our system in those two places. Penny and Jason did a little bit of research, and Commonwealth took a look at what they found, and those do
Penny
not.
did,
or-
Jason didn't.
Okay. Well, his name was on the email. I can give him credit, right? So what Penny found, Commonwealth, I think Riley looked at those, and it doesn't actually cover what covers us. And it wasn't something that Mark did anyway. It was just some old things that she was able to pull up. And so anyway, long story short, we are aware of it. Rob and I are going to work together. He had some drawings he brought up today, so we're gonna talk about these after the meeting, and I'm gonna have to draft something to present to, hopefully present to Miss Wheeler and get signed off on and not have an issue. If not, we may have to go argue that we have a prescriptive easement because our lines of our system has been in there for well over the time frame. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I talked to Ashley when we were looking at potential properties for the treatment plant, and those conversations were always fine.
Good.
That I remember. I'm pretty sure I talked to Ashley. So I don't think we're gonna have a problem, but just to make you guys aware that this has been discovered as another one of those things that didn't get recorded, so, or maybe even drafted.
Blast from the past.
So sorry, we'll get it done. Haven't heard anything by way of an update from Watson's either.
Other than they said that they were gonna reach out and get it surveyed out for us and get us a legal description and
We just don't have it from
Yeah.
them yet, so I'm still hanging.
What are they just bringing a service line across?
well, service line, when they ran that, they have a small lift station to service just that new construction and what was existing there. And that could only be serviced by a inch and quarter pressure main, which they tapped. Then they actually ran a 4-inch, along with it in case there was ever upbuild. And we, part of that agreement was we would take over that if they put the 4-inch in.
Okay.
So we told them we don't have any issues taking over the maintenance of the station and any line issues that's gonna touch our main. Daniel just requested a legal description and get it recorded correctly. So they had as-built and drawings of how it was completed, just not the legal description. And
Anybody else got any questions?
No,
No,
but I
you're
had
good.
something for Jason. I
Go
wanted
ahead.
to say, because every time I looked in my backyard and it's torrential rains, I couldn't even get out there to mow. Or I passed the lift station, I thought of you guys all in the office, even you, Penny, if you had to take phone calls. But you guys did a tremendous, tremendous job during this recent rain that we had. I mean,
they did,
you had to be out a lot.
yeah,
So, good job.
thank you.
Okay, anything else? Miss Ashley?
Morning.
Morning.
In April, we did several updates, and I think maybe one of the updates, were you talking about the closure yesterday? So and I don't know the whole story, but the third floor of the county building was closed. So we can work on, that was an urgent request, by Penny and Jason, so we can always, if it would help the process when those things go out, after we post it or as we're getting ready to post it, we can send it to the board as well. I don't know how soon they had to get out of the building. I didn't know what happened in a county building.
Is that because of the construction up here or what?
We'll
Oh.
explain that after. the
Okay.
meeting.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
That's
It
why
was
we
an-
didn't-
that's what I'm
It
saying,
was
we
an
don't- we didn't-
immediate thing.
It was an immediate.
Yeah.
There
we
was
didn't
no
put
notice.
anything on, we just said it was a
Yeah.
closure because we weren't sure what happened in the county building and we didn't want people worried. So, but Jason, Penny, we can, however, let the board know after we post something on the website, we can send the board a link if that helps. But we're happy to help in that process.
Okay.
So there were several different updates. Jason provided us with a Royerton project update and Overlook Drive. The rainwater, we had obviously lots of rain in April, so we did an update on that. Closure for the eclipse. So this coming month, you'll see a closure for, we have one for Election Day coming up, and then we have one for Memorial Day. And then we'll have some other updates. The Google Analytics I thought were for your website were down as far as unique visitors in the last 30 days. But what I thought was interesting is because we did have more posts, your actual visits to look at the different posts was up. So it created 89 visits just to see the different posts. So I think it's a great idea to continue to provide those updates, especially with projects or major rain events. Friday continues to be the busiest day on the website. And as far as your emails, last month, there were 1,717 delivered. 805 of those were opened with 15 clicks and 4 people unsubscribed. Any questions or?
Outreach, it's working. We know we're over 1,000, so yeah. Glad they're paying attention. I mean, it is.
Does that reduce your phone calls when they see all this stuff
I think it does.
online?
Yeah,
That's good.
because we had a lot less phone calls than what we thought during the rain. And I think that did help a lot.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I think we get some really good phone calls though too sometimes. Like I had a part of that overflow issue, one of the residents nearby, Mr. Parsons, he sees those updates and he calls me and that the conversations have sometimes carried a different tone. And it's actually been good because we get, yeah.
Good way of saying it. I like that. That was a very polite way of saying that. I gotta remember that one.
So it's helped out there too, so.
Good. Good. Anything else for Ashley? Thank you, dear. Commonwealth.
Jason touched on, and we've discussed pretty much our project updates as it relates to Overlook and Roriton. I believe the next progress meeting for Roriton's tomorrow. So there'll be minutes available. I don't know if they've been distributed to the board or not, but that progress meeting with Brackney will be tomorrow. In Overlook, I talked to our inspector, this morning on the drive up here. A little bit of context. Technically, by the way the notice to proceed was issued, their substantial completion date is tomorrow. The expectation from my guy in the field is the last two grinder stations will be installed today and the electrical will be hooked up. All that's left to do at that point is to finish pressure testing the main so we can switch everybody over from their septic tanks and connect them up to the grinder stations. Everybody here, we've talked about it. We know April was a wet month. I'm a little less forgiving when it comes to weather days, on a variety of levels because of how the contracts are written. But that being said, we recognize April was a wet month. And we did have, a little bit of delay associated with getting some specialized fittings from our pump manufacturers. We specifically required they use a certain manufacturer. There were some delivery issues that put them behind a week or 10 days. Contractor has made a request to us to get an extension to May 21st. We don't think they're justified that much time. Contractually, we still have sufficient budget if this board is amenable to allow them 2 weeks from tomorrow. So it would extend their completion date from May 2nd to May 16th. We're still within our budget to be able to be on site and babysit those guys. But I wanted to bring it to the board's attention. They had put us on notice 2-3 weeks ago. But at the time, they were cautiously optimistic that they wouldn't need it. I said, let's monitor it. Lucky for you, we have a board meeting the day before your completion date, so I can address this in case you do need an extension. So, I don't think it's an unreasonable request from the contractor, and from a budget standpoint, it doesn't increase our project costs. So I'm making recommendation today for your consideration that we go ahead and give SLB an extra 2 weeks to get all the homes switched over. And then that 30-day period between substantial completion and final completion, they can do all the demo work and restoration associated with what they have to do to the existing septic tanks.
Looking for direction from the board?
I'll make a motion that that's acceptable for the 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, it'll take so what I'll do is I'll assemble a change order. I guess this is change order number 1 for this contract that strictly extends the time by 14 days. And if the board approves this, then in your motion, authorize Bill to sign the change order once we get it assembled.
And then we had talked just as we were walking in, if we approve that extension and for some reason we get to our budget amount, then that cost will be their responsibility.
You have a clause in your contract with them
Right.
So I'd like.
at
add that
$1,000
to
a
the
day
motion.
penalty to cover any costs that you would incur beyond that.
On that date,
Yes.
yes, the contractor would be responsible for
Yeah,
any cost after
the
that.
construction contract has that penalty clause built into it.
Yes.
I think the only thing we were worried about was maybe when Rob looked at his budget was if having one of their guys on site to do the inspection was
Mhm.
gonna throw us over on his end, and as long as we, because we're in line with what we should be with these last two pay apps, if we can, that they would cover Rob's cost.
Right.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a first and a second for a two-week extension. Then budget, anything outside of that is the contractor's responsibility. And the authority for me to sign the change order. There you go. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion approved.
That's all I have to report on.
All you have? Yep. Okay. Any board members have anything else that needs to be brought up today?
I'd like to thank Commonwealth and Ashley for changing their time around to be here with us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And in that case, I'll thank everybody.
All right.
I appreciate you all being flexible.
But next month we are at a regular scheduled time, right?
About me.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
well,
Yes, ma'am.
you're a part of the
Can't run
board.
without you
Block
being
and
here.
a
We knew
half. I
you were
thanked
here.
everybody, Danielle, just so we're all aware.
Okay.
Not me, nobody else does.
Just had to get in there. Chase, I see you sitting out there. Don't mean to put you on the spot. Do you have anything from your turn, anything you need to address the board with? Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Second. The first and the second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.